Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. As I said on Wednesday, Wednesday. This is not Feedback Friday. It's another video because I didn't really do much of a video on Monday, and I have a Thursday show with the War on Stupid tour. Get your tour tickets at edthesock.com. But it means that I wouldn't have enough time to read the comments on the Dead or Alive 6 video. So I wanted to hold off until Monday, or I might be a super one next Friday, like whatever. But it was also, there was a lot of stuff this week that's sort of in my wheelhouse. I prioritized the DOA 6 stuff because it's actually video games. But I do kind of stray into tech culture as well. And this Google story, it was just too good not to cover. Google finds it's underpaying many men as it addresses pay equity. Now, full disclosure, you guys may have seen, I haven't done this stuff in ages just because I've been too busy. But when I was doing that series Dialogue Options, I interviewed James Damore, the gentleman who was fired from Google for sexist conduct, according to the media. But my own assertion talking to him was just, he was really keen on outside the box thinking regarding hiring and attracting more women and all that stuff. And he talked about it in a politically incorrect way. My opinion on him was that when presented with data, he knew the studies. And when you debated the studies with him, there was a give and take, and he conceded certain points. And this guy's not the problem when it comes to sexism. He needed some guidance in terms of how he approached things. But one would think that you'd want employees with that kind of initiative. Well, not when you're using computers to determine how people should be paid. And yes, that's what Google was doing. It wasn't actually human oversight. It wasn't, good people hiring good people. It was a fucking algorithm. Swear again. But this is ridiculous. Now granted, there is of benefit to Google to get this because they are being sued. They are being investigated by the Department of Labor. And this is an in-house study that does benefit them, makes them look better than the alternative. But what basically happened is when they looked at same pay for the same job, using an algorithm factoring in things like performance, location, and job, and then some subjective factors. I don't know how a computer determines that, but the algorithm was showing that men were actually being paid less than women for the same work. Now, this could mean that women are actually given job titles below what they should be getting, and that still needs to be investigated. But well, here's the thing. Kelly Ellis, a former Google engineer and one of the plaintiffs in the gender pay suit against the company, said in a legal finding that Google had hired her in 2010 as a level 3 employee. My God, this sounds like Huxley's Brave New World. The category for new software engineers who are recent college graduates, despite her 4 years of experience. Within a few years, a male engineer who had also graduated from college 4 years earlier was hired for Mrs. Ellis's team as a level 4 employee. That meant he received a higher salary and had more opportunities for bonuses, raises, and stock compensation, according to the suit. Other men on the team whose qualifications were equal to or less than hers were also brought in at level 4. So what Google just did was it basically was so biased that it ended up having to give men at level 3 a big pay bump because women who were supposed to be at level 4 were at level 3. I can't stand this kind of HR by algorithm. I do not think it works. There are so many subjective things that go into whether someone is deserving of promotion or deserving to be hired at a higher pay grade. I went through this. I've seen this with my mother, who was at a at a place for years and years and years, but was passed over for things she was clearly qualified for because she didn't have a college degree, because she started working before that was required for certain jobs. Women didn't have, you know, college degrees in the same number that they do now when my mother started working in the 1970s. And so she was passed over for certain jobs. She could absolutely do the job. She had a lifetime of work experience that should have been, it's the equivalent of a college degree. It's the equivalent of 10 college degrees. But they get so fixated on details like that. And what's funny is a lot of these companies, not necessarily Google, but Facebook, you know, we all know Mark Zuckerberg's like a Harvard college dropout, and yet Facebook tends to require college degrees from their employees. It's this ongoing thing that Silicon Valley is made up of all these entrepreneurs who don't want entrepreneurs working under them. You know, there's this infamous story about Jeff Bezos having to leave a good job, and I think it was publishing. I could be wrong there, but, you know, because he had an idea and the company wouldn't let him develop the idea, which started with books and went on to other things. So he had to go out on his own. I mean, you want to encourage creative thinking among your employees, not stifle it. And I really do think that if you only hire from the same 3 or 4 schools because your computer says that is the best, you're going to get stagnant. There's a weird thing in tech right now. Remember, it used to be like IBM was a stodgy company and Apple was sort of the upstart kooky company, and Microsoft was sort of the up and comer. Well, now everything's shifted. That Microsoft is now the IBM, the stodgy who cares company. Apple is kind of the Microsoft company that's becoming like super dominant and is sort of on the decline now. And now Google is kind of the Apple mixed with Microsoft. Google has become extremely powerful. And the minute these companies become powerful, they seem to forget everything that made people support them in the first place. It's so odd. And I don't want to make this one about sexism. I'm not going to analyze it that way. This isn't about gender. This just seems like Google is a lousy place to work, and it's finding every way they possibly can to step on their staff's necks. The fact that people are communicating through these like Google groups instead of getting together, like, okay, I get that you're on different campuses and it's a big company, but at least freaking video chat. Like, at least see faces, at least get inflection and things like that. Those social skills are extremely important. Feeling like you have a camaraderie on your staff. And I'm saying that as an introvert that has to limit my amount of like face-to-face time in large groups of people. It's still important. It is still really important sometimes to just sit down and talk it out and not have to type everything. Sometimes you have to cover your ass and put it in writing, but that's what minutes are for afterwards. This you know, teamwork through chat, it just, no, you're not getting well-rounded staff that way. You're not getting well-rounded teams of staff. And it just seems like, as it usually is, when you get these sexist power structures, and yeah, if women are being downgraded, if the pay grade they're at is below what men of the same qualifications get, that's sexist. But men being paid less for women for the same on-paper job, this is also sexist. We're going to need to see more granular data on that too, based on well, they said they're going to have to raise salaries. So I guess they found that, yeah, even with that subjective stuff, it was still, they were underpaying men. But, you know, these imbalances show a deeper problem with the corporate culture at Google. And this goes, you know, this data, this quantitative data dovetails with the qualitative stuff I got from talking to James Damore, where they really don't seem to want boat rockers. They have these echo chambers of thought that are not just political, but it's also how you navigate the workplace, how you, engage with your colleagues. Don't rock the boat. Don't feel passionate about an idea. If someone just keeps ignoring you, just drop it, take the hint. This is going to lead to diminishing initiative among employees. I mean, the overall turnover rate in Silicon Valley is grotesque. Any other field would be, our turnover rates suck. It is super expensive to continuing to have to retrain employees because people leave in less than 2 years. That is not an indication of a healthy workplace. And all of Silicon Valley is like that. Meanwhile, I just read in the newspaper, was it newspaper? No, it was CBC. Yesterday that the Toronto area up here in Canada is actually generating more new tech jobs per year now than Silicon Valley. The Bay Area is calcifying. It's no longer the dynamic place to be in terms of startup culture. These are all really bad signs for these giant companies in Silicon Valley. They are losing their grip on masters of the universe status, and they better clean up their act quick, because right now they have a lot of power and they have been operating with a fairly hands-off government approach. Now, in a perfect world, I think this is ideal because politicians do not understand the internet. Oh Lord, I have done talks with politicians in the room. Holy snap, they do not get it. So I don't think that politicians should be legislating interactive anything, digital anything. But unlike video games, which have, the industry has shown an ability to self-regulate extremely effectively, the tech industry, they wait until they get caught and then they scramble to put a Band-Aid on it, and their solutions are terrible. And you know, the statistics I dealt with in the free speech thing, which I apologize, I still have to make the playlist for that. I haven't forgotten. But, you know, they show that people, the majority, want them to do better on some of these tech-related issues, these privacy-related issues, but they want the companies to do it, not the government. And I actually think that's the right call. So these companies have to get on it. So to recap, yes, it's sexist that women are at a lower pay grade based on skills than men. Yes, that is a gendered imbalance. Paying men less than women at the same pay grade is also a gendered imbalance. And because you've got both, because nothing is balancing out and nothing is even consistent, that is an indication of deep rot within that company. And Google needs a complete, like, top to bottom do-over. Get in consultants, get in people to fix your freaking company, because Google is too much of a backbone of modern life now, between its docs and Drive services and its Android operating system. We all can't afford for it to be run this horrendously badly. And we have, you know, again, the sad case of James Damore's firing as a qualitative and an anecdotal example of what's wrong with Google. You have, you know, clearly the sexual harassment problems, which are also sort of anecdotal. They could be exceptions, but that shouldn't happen. And then now we have quantitative data, raw numbers that show something's really broken at this company. Gender imbalances, no matter who benefits from the imbalance, are a problem. They're a signal that something is wrong systemically with your management culture, with your corporate culture, and this can't just be ignored. I think Google's going to ignore it because all they're really worried about is lawsuits right now, and that's the wrong way to innovate. That's old, bloated, traditional corporate structure things going on. That's not a new tech mindset. That's not an innovative mindset. And maybe we just need a new Google. Remember MySpace? Remember MySpace before Facebook? Yeah, like, remember when that was a big thing? Tech changes. I think Google has too much of a toehold to disappear that much. But hey, nobody thought that the iPhone was going to be anything but dominant before Android came along. So it can happen. And Google better step up or it will happen. Okay, thanks for watching. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Regularly scheduled Feedback Friday will return next week, possibly Monday and Friday. I don't know. I'm going to see how the comments go. Thanks for watching.